On December 8, 1991, 3 men walked into a forest lodge and quietly ended a superpower. No guns, no riots, no votes, just signatures on a secret document that dissolved the Soviet Union and changed the destiny of millions. This is the day a nation built by revolution collapsed in silence. On December 8, 1991, the world changed without a single shot being fired. In a quiet forest retreat in Belarus, the leaders of Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus gathered behind closed doors. They were not meeting to negotiate reforms or discuss the future of the Cold War. They were meeting to end the Soviet Union itself. For nearly 70 years, the USSR had been one of the most powerful nations on Earth, a nuclear giant, a political force, a symbol that frightened the West. But by the 1990s, the cracks were everywhere: collapsing economies, independence movements, political chaos, and a population that had lost faith in the system. The country was still huge, but its foundation was weak, and that weakness had finally caught up with it. Inside the lodge, the leaders spoke quietly. They compared notes from their collapsing republics. Factories were shutting down. Military bases were starving. Citizens were standing in line for basic food. The Soviet dream was falling apart. And after hours of discussion, they reached a decision that would end an era. They signed the Belavezha Accords, officially declaring that the Soviet Union no longer existed. The document didn't just end a government, it ended a world order. Gorbachev, the man who had tried to save the USSR through reforms, was not even present. He learned later that the country he led had been dissolved without him. The world's largest socialist state, stretching across 11 time zones, vanished through the stroke of a pen. This moment reshaped borders, created new nations, and changed alliances overnight. 15 independent countries suddenly appeared where once there had been one. Millions of people woke up the next morning living in a different nation, with a new flag, a new passport, and an uncertain future. Some celebrated independence, others felt betrayed, abandoned, or lost. What collapsed was not only a government, but an identity built over generations. The positive side of this moment is that it ended decades of Cold War fear. The threat of a nuclear standoff slowly faded, and many nations gained the freedom they had been fighting for. Economies eventually opened, borders shifted peacefully, and people could speak, travel, and dream in ways they never could before. But the negative side is equally powerful. When the Soviet structure collapsed, it left behind economic disaster, political chaos, and deep confusion. Millions fell into poverty. Corruption grew rapidly. Conflicts broke out in the Caucasus, Eastern Europe, and Central Asia. The collapse also planted the seeds of future wars, including the tensions we still see today between Russia and Ukraine. Why does this matter to our lives? Because the world we live in now, from NATO expansion to the conflicts in Eastern Europe to global energy politics, all began on this single day. The decisions of 3 men in a quiet forest lodge still shape the headlines we read in 2025. History shows that nations do not die only through war. Sometimes they die through silence, negotiation, and exhaustion. And the lesson is clear. Great powers fall not only when enemies attack them, but when they lose the trust of their own people. A nation's strength is not its weapons or its land. It is the unity of those who live within it. History is not old. History is living inside us. One day, one event, one lesson. Mr. Fidi,